It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam Lesante. Thanks for joining us. So there is a reassessment in Schuylkill County. Do we really need it? And when this assessment is going to start, was it politically motivated? There's so many misinformation facts out there that has a lot of people confused. Well, we're going to straighten them all out today, my friends, because what we're going to tell you is everything is factual, especially in Schuylkill County, whom I really like. The people in Schuylkill County, they're fantastic. But how is it going to affect your pocketbook? Why did it happen? We're going to address things that are very serious and are truthful today. Joining me is Tim Barr. He is the Executive Director, Pennsylvania Customer Relations and Technology for Vision Government Solutions. Certainly no stranger. Well, Tim, thanks for, first of all, getting in touch with us, because this is a very serious issue. And as usual, when these things happen, there's so much misinformation out there that you just get, bombarded, this and this and that. First of all, my question is this. Living in Schuylkill County, if I lived in Schuylkill County, why are we doing this reassessment?
Well, thank you for having me on, Sam, and I appreciate the opportunity to provide information to your viewers. Schuylkill County hasn't had a reassessment in 30 years. I actually worked on the last one 30 years ago. And over a 30-year span, the market has changed. Some areas are suffering from blight. School districts have filed spot appeals. All of that has caused the values to not be fair where like properties are supposed to pay the same. So what ultimately has triggered this is a lack of fairness in the tax base for Schuylkill County. That led to a court case which the county fought, and then there were studies done both by the appellant and by the county, and all the studies showed the same thing. The assessments aren't fair. They're not uniform. And the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania says if you and I have similar properties in the same township, we're supposed to pay the same tax. But on average in this county, $450 out of every $1,000 is paid by the wrong person. $450 on average is paid by the wrong person, and most people don't even know that. They might be on a fixed income, they might have improved their house, they might not have improved their house, and they could be paying more than their fair share or less than their fair share. This reassessment is intended to correct that.
Okay, so here's the point. When you hear the word assessment, all right, oh my God, the first thing I think about is my taxes are going up. Okay, and here I am, I'm getting punished because I remodeled my home, I made my home look better and whatever. Now they're going to come after me and clobber me with taxes. True or false statement?
False statement. The #1 misunderstanding about a county-wide reassessment, and that's the distinction, the whole county is being done, is that it's an overall tax increase. It is not allowed to be. State law mandates, Section 8823 of assessment law says, all the taxing bodies have to lower their millage by whatever the tax rate, the tax values go up. So if the values go up 6 times, the millage has to go down 6 times. It has to be revenue neutral for the taxing bodies. Doesn't mean that you might not pay more or less. It will see a shift from one person to another. But as I said, we can't really predict who those winners and losers are going to be. In the end, I like to think, after doing this 40 years, everybody's a winner if it's more fair. We're going to make sure that the values aren't any higher than they have to be, and they aren't artificially low for anybody. No one should get special treatment. You need to pay based on the value of your home as defined in Pennsylvania law.
Okay, so when this happens, and that's why I said to the viewers, we're going to give them facts today. We're not going to give them political nonsense, all right, because that always happens. What are some of the things that are being, what kind of misinformation is being presented out there?
Well, one of the #1 thing is people are saying, well, it's a tax increase on everybody. And as I just said, it can't be, not allowed to be under the law. Probably the second thing that I'm hearing a lot is that this was a quick thing and that there wasn't a lot of research done. The state passed regulations several years ago, standards, guidelines on how to do reassessments and contract for them. Schuylkill County took those, studied them, talked to other counties, talked to experts, created an ad hoc internal committee to study the issue, all while that court case was going on. And then they ultimately issued a request for quotes and qualifications, which multiple vendors responded to. And then they interviewed these vendors. We came in, we had demonstrations of software, and they wanted to understand, do we know Pennsylvania law?
Yes.
Do we have local people that can actually run the job? Our project manager lives in Shenandoah. Who is going to do the work? So the county spent months doing all of this research before they chose us, and we're pleased to be the selected vendor. In the end of December, the contract was finalized, negotiated, and signed, and we've been very busy ever since then.
Okay, so in terms of that misinformation, all right, because here again, it's a political year, all right, and we want people to know the truth. We want them to know that what the county is doing, if I sat as a county commissioner, it's like, oh boy, but however, if I'm obligated to do that, if this is something where the law says I have to do it, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to make sure that we're doing it right for the county residents. Okay, and are they doing it right?
Right. The current commissioners they didn't want to do a reassessment. Nobody does.
Exactly.
It's unpopular. Politically, it's a challenging time. But they also recognize, and I've met a lot of commissioners over the decades, that at the end of the day, any commissioner, current or future, that may get into office is there to do what? To represent the people that live in the county. That's their job. So if part of their obligation is to make sure taxes are more fair and that people aren't paying $450 out of every $1,000 too much for a third of the county, then you've got to bite the bullet, and if you don't brush your teeth every once in a while, you're going to need a root canal. Well, this is a 30-year-old root canal that we're going to go through in this county, but we're also going to help people through this. And that's the next thing that I would encourage any county commissioner to do, is make sure that the vendor does it right. And trust me, they're on top of us making sure we do it right. All our status reports are on the county website. Make sure the vendor does it right, and then make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to communicate to the public, to make this an open and transparent process. And we believe the same things. So this is a good fit for us.
One of the drafts that they send me, my friends, were that when we do this assessment, roughly 31% of you will see a decrease in your taxes. Am I correct in saying that?
The rule of thumb, and it is just a rule of thumb, is that after a reassessment, if you look at everybody's bills, what were they before and what were they after? And we have a graphic that you'll see this curve. And the people on one side of the curve, about a third of them are going to see a significant tax increase. About a third are going to see a significant decrease, and a third are going to stay the same. That graphic is actually real data from Blair County's reassessment that was completed in 2016. If my value goes up more than average, I'm going to be on the increase side of that curve. If my value goes up less than the average for my area, I'm going to get a tax reduction. So this concept of a third isn't foregone, and in that example, you'll see the actual statistics there. But it's close to that. And it goes to prove, and that study was done at the request of one of the commissioners from Blair County, because he wanted to prove that did people actually get a reduction. And when you look at it, there's almost 2,000 people that got massive reductions that were overpaying and had no idea they were overpaying on their taxes.
Okay, so in having this information, all right, what do I, as a property owner, okay, look for? What do I do? Okay, what do I prepare for?
Okay, number one, we can use the property owner's help. Nobody knows your property better than you do. We've hired local people to be data collectors. They're going to go out with a fluorescent vest like this and a digital camera and a laser measure and a tape measure and a tablet. They're just data collectors. So when they knock on your door and they leave you a packet with our phone number and our websites on it, They're going to ask you, hey, we're going to measure the house, take pictures, and the more you can cooperate with that, the better. We've had a handful of people that have not wanted us on the property and have asked us to collect their data from the street or the neighbor's property, and we honor that. So the number one
But
thing
sometimes
is,
that's not a good thing, Tim.
oh, it's not in their best interest
No,
if
that's
I have
right.
to estimate.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
We want the best data,
That's
garbage
right.
in, garbage out.
That's
so if
right.
I can't measure that deck that's off the back of the house that wasn't on the existing records, I'm going to have to estimate it. It's probably at this point with 4,500 parcels collected, we've had less than 100 people that have taken that position that they'd rather us not be on the property.
That's not too bad.
So we gather that information. That's the first thing. We're going to send you a data verification mailer. You'll get the chance to tell us things about the property we don't know. In 2025, you're going to get a preliminary change of assessment notice and a chance to sit down with someone at what's called an informal review to talk about the description. You know, you're not sure the data's right. You want to make sure we knew that the basement floods and the property line's under dispute. Let us know those things. There's lots of opportunities for property owners to help us know their property better. Because I have no incentive to make the value high, because the millage will just balance it out in the end. I want it to be right. I want it to be what the probable typical selling price is going to be for each property.
Okay, so you mentioned something that you're saying, so the millage is going to balance it out. I want to talk a little bit more about that, my friends. And here again, if you need to find any information about this, where could they go to look? What website do you have?
Our website is vgsi.com/Schuylkill, name of the county.
And what will they
They can see where we're working. They can see information about how the data collection process is done. There's even information about how we're going to develop the values that are going to get mailed in 2025. Lots of useful information there. I would also encourage you to go to the Schuylkill County assessment office page or the home page and click the reassessment link. All of the RFQs, the contracts with me, all the status reports, those are all public documents easily found on the county website. So that's another useful thing. And if that doesn't answer their questions, send us an email at schuylkill@vgsi.com or submit it through the web form. That will come to me or a member of my staff. And at the moment, I'm personally returning all of those phone calls to make sure that people get their questions answered.
Okay, one question is, what have been some of the questions coming to you so far?
The number one question, believe it or not, is, what is this? Oh, they're doing a reassessment? I didn't even know. Might surprise you, because those of us that are involved in it or involved in politics, it's the only thing anyone talks about. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize what it is. They might all be familiar with other states where it's a routine thing. They don't know that it's 30 years. I would say the number one question has been, what is this? Why are we doing it?
And your answer to them, I know it'll be redundant, but tell them what your answer is.
Well, my answer is that it's a countywide reassessment. Right now, we're focused on data collection. So that person was visiting the house, checking the existing records, measurements, taking pictures, so that we can have an accurate description of the property and comply with the court order that mandated this.
And keeping in mind, my friends, this was a court order
right.
Mandated. It was something that they didn't just come up and say, I think we'll reassess them. Okay?
Yeah, they had to settle it and did a stipulation in the court. It's a court stipulation.
All right. So we talked about balance here. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that again. And the reason for the show is to give you only facts. Okay? People like to play politics, and that's okay. But when it comes to serious matters like this, I think you deserve only the facts. We'll be back right after this break. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks, and thank you for making the Sam Lesante Show the #1 talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania. Hence, from our scientific poll from Susquehanna Polling and Research, they were rated the #1 polling research company in the United States. And for those of you who participated in that poll, I appreciate it. My email is sam@ssptv.com. Anytime you have any questions, please feel free to email me. We're here today talking to Tim Barr. He's the Executive Director of Pennsylvania Consumer Relations and Technology, which is Vision Government Solutions, they have been acquired to do the reassessment in Schuylkill County. And once again, my friends, this show is based on facts. We got the main man right here. There's tons of websites, everything's transparent, a lot of questions, and hopefully we'll answer some of them for you. If not, you can certainly get in touch with him. Before we get into how we do a walkthrough, you mentioned about a balance of millage versus, explain that again to me.
Well, we all get a tax bill for our property.
Right.
On that bill, there's an assessed value. It's actually a 1996 base year assessed value. Even if the house was built last week, all properties in this county are taxed as though they had existed in 1996. That assessed value is multiplied times a millage rate or a tax rate to equal what I'm going to pay in taxes, the taxes. So assessment times millage equals money. The county, the municipalities, the cities, the school districts do the same thing. It's just everybody's assessment times the same millage equals their budget from real estate tax, what they're going to levy. So let's say, for example, that you had a taxing body that used 30 mills times their assessed value to get $22 million of budget. They, as part of a reassessment, the values are going to be higher. Let's say, for the sake of argument, they're 6 times higher. 30 mills divided by 6 would be 5 mills, so that they get the exact same $22 million that they got before. Now, they are allowed a second public vote where county and municipalities can get an extra 10%, and school districts are capped at whatever the state increase limits are. But that can happen now. Taxing bodies can raise taxes anytime they want. It's capped in the year of a reassessment. So if my value goes up equal to the average for my township, then my township taxes won't change. And if I've been overvalued compared to my neighbors, maybe the school district appealed I bought the property 10 years ago and the school district appealed it. We have samples in Orwigsburg where it's over $700 a year on the same block where properties are paying different taxes in the same block. Why? Because one of them sold and there was a school district appeal, which is their legal right to do. And without a reassessment, I understand why they did it, but it's not fair. It doesn't make it equal for those property owners. They should all be paying the same amount of tax if they have similar homes on the same street.
Mm-hmm. All right, so with that being said, what is the typical walkthrough that happens when your people are there?
Well, first of all, everybody that we've hired is local residents from the area. They go through extensive training. They follow rules and protocols. They're not assessors. They're not appraisers. They're just data collectors. They're told in our training and the follow-up, always knock on the door first. Even before you take a picture from the street, go knock on that door, ring the bell, take a step back so we're not intimidating folks. And if the property owner is home, we're going to hand them a flyer and we're going to ask them some questions about the inside, how many bathrooms, how many rooms. Is the basement finished? Is the attic upstairs
Now, do you
finished?
go in the house?
We do not go in the house. They're not allowed to go in the homes. By our policy for this project, we're not going in homes, even if you ask us to go in. We will not, we had, on cold days, folks are like, well, you want to come in for a cup of coffee? No, thank you very much, but we're just going to do our work here and gather the data. Most property owners aren't home. So we'll hang the flyer on their door and then proceed to gather the data. What does that look like?
Get back to
yes.
Get back to the questions. Okay, so what are some of the questions you're asking me? Yes, I'm the homeowner. What will you be?
They might be the homeowner or a tenant. Yeah. By the way, if they're a minor, we don't talk to them. We come back another time.
So what are the questions?
The questions are typically things like, how many bedrooms do you have? How many bathrooms? One of the most important questions is, if it's a 1.5 story, a bungalow, or 2.5, is the space upstairs finished or not? Because if that's not living space, we don't want to treat it as such. Is the basement finished? That's another important thing. We try to keep it simple because all those questions are going to be on that mailer that we're going to send them to.
Okay.
And I missed this, and I don't have my ID on. I should have worn it for the interview. Everybody has a county-issued ID. Their cars have one of these on the sides of the vehicle with our toll-free number and our website right on it. They're wearing a vest that you didn't buy at the local store. It has the word vision on the back. If they don't have those things, call the police. Now, we've informed the police whether it's the state or local as it applies, and the local governments, the names, the vehicle descriptions, the license plates of all of our staff. So if there's a red Chevy truck doing data collection down a particular street, the local folks are going to know about it and can verify that, or they can call our office for that.
So you cover all the bases.
We try to.
Yeah.
And it's not a perfect process. You know, the first week we were out there, we were opening the outer screen doors to get a good knock on the inside door, and we scared a lady because she thought we were trying to get in the house.
Yes.
So we immediately changed our protocols, never open the outside door. It's not worth, it's
Yeah, I
our
got
home.
you. Yeah.
You know, maybe a package will get delivered in between the doors, but we're not going to open that outer door. We're just going to knock harder on the outside door.
So once again, getting the correct information is important for everybody.
It is.
All right. So what are some of the positive things that could happen for a homeowner from a reassessment?
Well, at the end of the day, everyone cares about what they pay in taxes. Let's be honest about
Which
it.
in my place too high to begin with.
And everyone thinks they're going to get an increase, and they won't believe me until they actually get their bills in 2026.
Exactly.
I get that. But at one level, people should feel good to know that the data is going to be right on not just their property, but their neighbor. They may have watched an addition being put on a house that didn't have a permit. And so that person's not paying taxes on that addition that was done on the house. Well, that's going to get caught. The court's requiring us to visit and measure every single house, even if they're not home. We have to gather the data for all of those properties. So that information is going to be better. The values are going to be better. They're going to be more uniform and predictable. And we're going to have lots of opportunities for people to participate in this. If necessary, they can go to formal appeals and present their opinion of value if they don't agree with the number that we put on it.
So sometimes you get an assessment and you really feel it isn't fair, you can appeal that.
That's correct. The values will go out preliminary in the spring of '25. Final values will go out on or before July 1st. And you'll have 40 days from the July 1st mailing to appeal your assessment if you want. You don't have to have an attorney for that. There aren't going to be fees for that. This is an opportunity for you to come in and say, I don't think it's worth what they said. I think it's worth this, and here's my evidence. Maybe they've had an appraisal done, or maybe they've done their own sales study. Formal appeals are a chance to debate value. And if that's not good enough, there are a handful that will go to a common pleas appeal.
Mm-hmm. Folks, I'm talking to Tim Barr, and he is the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Customer Relations and Technology for Vision Government Solutions. This is something that has been mandated, and it's totally transparent. So all the misinformation, please put it aside. Let's only deal with facts. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. We're talking about reassessment in Schuylkill County, and I'm here with Tim Barr, who is the Executive Director for the Pennsylvania Consumer Relations and Technology Vision Government Solutions. They've been around a long time. This was mandated, by the courts. It's extremely important for those who live in Schuylkill County. Also, it could be important for other people who live in different counties in case it hits your county as well. The ABCs of taxes. Give me a wrap up on that.
So I like to think of it that way. Assessments are what we're dealing with the reassessment. We want it to be fair and uniform. As we said, the Pennsylvania Constitution requires like properties to pay the same. There's no teeth in state government that enforces it, but that's what the Constitution says. So assessments are supposed to be the same for similar properties. That's what a reassessment fixes. But that's not what affects our tax bills alone. B stands for basis. How do we pay for local government? The bulk of our taxes are funded by real estate tax, school district, municipal, and county. We pay income tax, we pay sales tax, but the bulk of our funding of local government is from the real estate tax. That can only be changed in Harrisburg. So there's been talk for decades about tax reform, property tax elimination, or at least reducing it. If we want to see a reduction in the burden on the basis being mostly real estate, that's where we have to focus our energies. I can't do anything about that with reassessment. I can go to conferences and stand on the bully pulpit and say, please, we need tax reform, and I believe that. The C stands for costs. What does it cost to run government? Well, I personally don't think the government should spend $1 more than it has to provide than it needs to provide the services its citizens demand. Now, some citizens might demand more than others, but how do you control costs? Go to your county commissioners meeting, go to your school board meetings, go to your municipality meetings, and participate. Again, reassessment doesn't change that. The budgets don't change from a reassessment. That $22 million example I gave doesn't change unless the basis changes or the costs go down.
Well, it's interesting to know that, because here again, there's always so much misinformation. I've learned a lot today on this show, and I'm very happy that you got in contact with us to explain this. But basically what happened, it was Blair County here, that these numbers here where they decreased, etc.
Yeah.
In Blair County, 31% decreased, 33 said the same, and 36 increased. However, the balance there is with the millage as well, which I find quite interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the parcels balanced that way. The money was an exact match, but there were a few more parcels on one side than the other, and that sort of proves that it wasn't manipulated, it's actual results.
My suggestion is work with them, give them the information you need. You always have the option of appeal. Comcast 190, 7 to 11 p.m. every day, 24/7 on SSP TV channel 13 and 513 on Service Electric Cablevision, and of course we're seen in the Wilkes-Barre area on Saturdays and Sundays on channel 92. Any information you need, the website's on the screen. Let's not play politics with this, my friends, and let's not try to play games. If the media is going to present it the way it should be. We have been fooled enough, and we've been lied enough to by certain dishonest politicians. And I always say elections have consequences, so make sure we do what we have to do. Let's do our due diligence. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.